Hello, continuing our reading in Ereth's Birthday by Avi. This time is chapter 18. Ereth has some other thoughts. Ereth was halfway across the field on his way to the forest when he suddenly came to a stop.
Bouncing balls of beeswax,
he muttered with horror.
The traps! I'm so furious I've forgotten all about them. I'm acting blind and brainless. Any moment now I could be stepping right into one of those things. If I do, I'll maim myself, kill myself.
Anxiously, he swung about and took a step back along the trail he'd made through the snow. He had been, he now realized, lucky to come as far as he had without harm. It would be best to return. By walking in the same steps he had just made, he could get safely back. But no sooner did he take one step back than he spied Tumble. The young fox, head low, was walking slowly toward the den. Just to see him filled Ereth with rage.
Oh, monkey marbles,
he shouted out loud.
No way I'm going back there.
With that, he spun about and faced the trees, only to have his nerves fail him again.
But if I'm caught in a trap, I know. I'll make a snowball, just the way those idiot kits did. If I have to, I'll push it all the way home.
Ereth set about to shape a ball, only to quickly realize his legs were too short for the job.
Oh, great galloping guppy gunk,
he cried with a rage that brought tears to his eyes.
I don't know which way to go.
Trembling, Ereth stood in the middle of the field facing the forest. More than anything else, he wanted to lose himself in the trees, then find a way back to his own lovely log. How he yearned to return to his gloomy, stinky home, to wallow in his own muck, to have a soothing talk with Poppy. Oh, to be anywhere but where he was. And yet, he could not make himself go forward. He was too afraid. Better to go back to the safety of the den. No, he didn't want to do that either. The kits hated him, didn't want him. He turned about. Even as he stood there, a breeze swept across the field carrying snow. To his horror, the tracks he had just made began to disappear. If he didn't go back immediately, he'd have to break a new trail, with the danger of stepping into a trap. One moment Ereth was in a rage. The next moment he felt soft and weepy. What was happening to him? His helplessness was frightening.
Oh, sloth swill soup with bird drop stuffing,
he shouted to the air.
I can't go anywhere.
Then, all of a sudden, an even more terrible thought came to him. What if even some of the things Tumble had said were true? Could he really be so dreadful? Was he really a bad creature? Had he in fact become old without noticing? The answer came in the form of a cold shiver that went through his whole body. Yes, it was so. Everything the young fox had said was true. He was an awful creature. He was old. He was bossy. No one bothered about his birthday because it wasn't worth bothering about. What's more, there was nothing he could do about it. He was too set in his ways to change. He was worthless. He might as well be dead. Ereth shut his eyes against such thoughts. Ereth! At first, Ereth was not sure he heard his name, but the call came again, slightly more insistent. Ereth! Someone was calling to him. Ereth opened his eyes. No one in front of him, nor to either side. He looked back. It was Flip. In spite of himself, Ereth scowled. Flip stood some way off, afraid to come any closer. Ereth? He called again cautiously. It sounded like a question, as if he were unsure if he should even say the name. Ereth felt his anger returning.
Oh, what is it?
He growled. Can I talk to you?
About what, Tinklebrain?
The porcupine said, though he immediately regretted having spoken so. Ereth, Tumble came back to the den.
What about it?
He told us what he said to you. Well, he's very upset. Ereth thought of saying,
What about me?
But held his tongue. He said he yelled at you, Flip went on, that he said a lot of awful things, that He made you go away. Ereth grunted. I just wanted to tell you that what he said isn't the way Nimble and I feel. Ereth, unprepared for the searing pain he felt, stared at the young fox. Turning, he shifted away from Flip and gazed longingly at the forest. Flip drew a little closer. Ereth, he called, I'm glad it was you. I'm glad you came to us. I like you. Ereth sniffed. I wish you'd come back. Flip coaxed. We found 2 more traps.
You did?
Ereth said. How many did you say there were? Flip asked. After a moment, Ereth said,
Well, Tumble just found another one. With the one you found before, it adds up to 5 altogether. Then there was the one your mom found. Those trappers said they had put down 16. If we can believe them, that means there's just 9 left.
We could find them, Flip said. I'm sure we could. But, Ereth, don't you think it would be better if you stayed with us? Ereth continued to face the forest. Perhaps he should live alone, the way he had spent most of his life before he met Poppy. When he was alone, no one hurt him. No one ignored him. Being alone was safe. Maybe you could just stay until our dad gets back? Flip said.
Oh, caterwauling catfish,
Ereth cried.
For all you know, he may never come back.
Oh, sure he will, Flip said. He cares for us a lot, he does. It's just that he's very busy. He has to take care of his business.
What about my business?
Ereth, Flip pleaded. Tumble is very upset. I don't think he meant what he said. Ereth sighed. Did you hear me? Flip asked.
Oh, maybe it was true,
Ereth whispered. Well, even if what he says was a little bit true, please, I still think we need you. Ereth turned around and faced him.
You really want me to stay?
Yes. Ereth sighed.
All right, but only until we find the rest of the traps, or till your father gets back, whichever comes first.
Oh, wow, that's so great of you, Flip said excitedly. I'll go tell the others. With that, he turned and bounded back along the trail toward the den. He had not gone 10 steps when he stopped and returned to Ereth.
Oh, now what?
Ereth demanded. There's something else I want you to know.
What?
Ereth said, preparing for the worst. I really like you, Flip said. You're really sweet. And with that, the young fox hurried on back to the den. Ereth stared after the young fox. Reaching up, he touched his nose on the spot where Poppy had once kissed it.
Sweet,
he muttered with a grimace.
Sweet is a word for nitwits and gumdrops, not for me. It'll only be for a short while, he told himself. A very short time.
With that, he began to waddle back along the trail Flip had made, telling himself that it was, after all, the safest way to get anywhere. Marty the fisher watched with bitter disappointment as Ereth headed back toward the bluff. He's gone back to them, he growled. That means I'm going to have to find some other way to get him alone. He thought for a moment. Then he smiled. Maybe it's time I found Father Fox. Yes, I think I'll let Bounder know exactly what's going on. He'll flash that stupid porcupine out. And with that thought, Marty whirled about and raced into the forest. And that's the end of chapter 18.